Welcome to the Bird's Eye View. As always, I am Mr. Krow.
No, you're not.
Wait. As always, I'm War Duck, and I am here with the lovely Mr. Krow. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Wow,
it happens every time.
Awesome.
Every time I've had to do it too.
Okay, we're just gonna roll with it.
Heck yeah.
All right. So on the episodes, how the Bird's Eye View normally works is we find an article, we kind of read through the article a little bit, and then we go to a discussion mode and talk about that article. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to react to a video, a part of a video, and then we're going to talk about that. And I know a lot more about this than Mr. Krow because I've been kind of following this, and that's what struck me with this, what he says. And Mr. Krow is going to kind of blind react.
Sounds good.
So, Timcast or Tim Pool, however you know him, is a conservative talk show host on YouTube or podcast or whatever his show is.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily follow him. I know who he is because of his interactions with some of the people that I do follow. So I just happened to come across this video, and I do follow Sydney Watson. So when I saw this, I was doing something else and thought I would just listen to it. I got about 6 minutes in when this really struck me. So we're going to go ahead and play this for, I think it's about a minute of what they talk about here. So here we go.
Simulation. Guys, be honest with me. Is this a Truman Show? Are you guys punking me or something? Because we had Crowder and the Daily Wire from December into January. We have Project Veritas and O'Keefe. Obviously, we got embroiled in some drama, and that's why this is exactly what I'm like. This stuff freaks me out. Now you've got Blaze undergoing its own version. How is all of this happening at the same time?
Because the midterms haven't really kicked off, or the elections haven't. Yeah, primary.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and stop it there. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about was all of a sudden the conservative shows being under this weird attack or infighting or civil war. And like he said, it kind of freaks him out because it's just like one right after another. It's not like spread out. It's all right now. Like it's kind of a weird thing. And so we're going to put the clock up here and 10 minutes.
So I was just going to say, give a little bit of background there, I guess. Cause
okay. So early on, Steven Crowder got a contract offer from the Daily Wire. It was $50 million. That sounds like a lot. However, when you talk about this is money that you get based on your shows, right? And the contract. So over $50 million, when you start talking about production and all this other stuff that you run, that doesn't go as far as you think it does.
Oh, yeah.
It's not,
I was
here you go, Steven Crowder, here's
$50
$50 million. But what his problem was they are fighting big tech, right? That's supposed to be the whole thing. Yeah. Well, in this contract they offered him, it was basically like, well, if you get demonetized from YouTube, it's 25% penalty for your contract. Well, he's already not monetized. So just by signing that, all of a sudden he's 25% off of his thing, right? So he's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you enforcing YouTube's policies? Basically, so what this came down to is all of the penalties in this contract came out to like 125%.
Oh, so he's going to be in the hole.
So, right. If he just does what he does and all of a sudden he gets in trouble by YouTube or whatever, then all of a sudden, like, he's out all this money. And they wanted to own his this likeness and everything in perpetuity of everything that he does within this contract. And he's like, well, wait a minute. 30 years down the road, I don't want to see myself being deep fake talking about something else.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So, that brings up the topic you and I had when we were talking about the AI stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what brought up this fight. Right. And then that happened. Okay. And we have not seen Steven Crowder in a few weeks.
No,
and gone.
I haven't seen anything from him.
Right.
It's been a lot old
So we
news.
don't know what's happening there. Okay. The next thing was this whole Eliza Blue. She's a grifter. Basically, she said she was a survivor, and somehow she has this in with Elon Musk. And so when all these people started bringing up the truth, she had Twitter or Elon ban all these people, like the Quarterine, the Star Wars girl. There's a bunch of other ones that were covering this Eliza Blue thing, because remember, she was a trafficking survivor, except for the fact that she was never trafficked. What happened was she did a paid job in a music video where she was scantily dressed.
Okay.
They put up that video 6 years ago. It's been on there, but when this got all brought up, she had their channels. So YouTube hit a strike on them, I think is what it was. And then Twitter banned them, straight banned them off of Twitter.
Interesting.
And they're like, who is this lady and how does she have any power at Twitter? But somehow she was in with Elon Musk. And it was just this really weird thing. More and more has come out. So basically, every time somebody uses a photograph of her or a video that she did a job for and was paid for, she says she was being trafficked. And she's a trafficking survivor. So this all blew up in her face, and now it's not going so well. All those other people are back on Twitter. But what happened here was the Quarterine... I think he made a comment about Tim Pool not covering it.
Okay.
And Tim Pool was silent about it. And then Tim Pool...
I was going to say, it's probably in his best interest to stay quiet.
And then
based on how everyone else is.
Well, but see, Tim Pool had her on the show twice. And then Tim Pool sent out a investigative reporter to do a story on her, but they softballed it, and they didn't really... They didn't really take it as hard as everybody else had been. They kind of softballed that, made her sound like she was doing good work and everything. Then Tim Pool blew up at the Quarterine because I think some of the Quarterine's fans were pressuring him to talk about it. He said, I'm not going to talk about somebody that I don't give two left shakes about. And it is irrelevant. And then it kept going. And then Tim Pool blew up at everybody, was telling his paid subscribers to hit the bricks and to get lost, and he doesn't need them. And then and then he realized that the either
he does need them.
Either was really bad business model, or he realized that he was in the wrong, and he came back and apologized. He said, look, I overreacted, I was in the wrong. He took ownership, so I'm okay with that, like, because I get how, like, you don't want to bend to outside pressure when you're doing something, a show or something that you know, and he just, for whatever reason, whether he believed her or he didn't care about her or whatever, he just felt strongly he didn't want to cover it. And all that pressure, I see, got to him, and he had an outburst, and then, you know, he obviously corrected that, and then he apologized to the Quarterine, and they're all on good terms and everything now. But it was just another one, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Sydney Watson and the Blaze. And now Sydney Watson was on the Blaze. They did some talk shows, but she feels that there was some things that happened in that whole thing, which I'm not completely sure because it's still new. And of course, with the court thing, Sydney actually can't really talk about it. So, but it sounded like they brought her on. It was okay, but he apparently, I forgot who the guy is exactly, but apparently he's a drinker and may not have been sober on the show. And and then, like, he kept bringing on these guys that were super anti-feminism or anti-women, and she felt increasingly uncomfortable. And so now she's suing that. Then there's the big one.
Wow.
Here's the big one. Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. You know who they are. And last one he did was he went and busted that Pfizer guy that said that they were creating COVID variants or something to force people to get more of the
Boosters.
the boosters and stuff.
Yeah.
And then right
Maybe we
after
should say that kind of
that,
stuff.
they confronted somebody at YouTube because they were taking those videos down. So they confronted the CEO of YouTube, and then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. James O'Keefe was put on leave. We have not heard from him in a couple of weeks. And then apparently the board said that they did this behind the scenes coup because James O'Keefe has a board of directors on his company, unfortunately. And they basically said that they were going to kick James O'Keefe out of Project Veritas.
Oh, wow.
Right? The company he starts, you're going to kick him out. Now, the backlash is huge because the only reason people follow Project Veritas is because James O'Keefe and what he does.
Yeah.
He is the face of Project Veritas. So without him, those board members are basically ending their own employment. And as of right now, I have not heard if they actually expel them. There was supposed to be some vote, but then there was some statement by the board that says, "Oh no, we never said we were going to kick him out or whatever." But but so I don't know where that is. But what I do know is James O'Keefe is nowhere to be heard from.
Jeez.
Steven Crowder.
This is a mess.
Yeah, Steven Crowder is nowhere to be heard from.
Wow.
Tim Pool's still doing his thing, and Sydney Watson is still doing her thing. The Quartering has always done his thing, but and Sydney and the Quartering now have a separate show together that they're doing, and they're going to continue that. He says he supports her and all that. And from what I heard, I'm behind Sydney Watson. It sounds like they really didn't treat her very well. But these are all things that you guys need to go look on your own. But what is happening to the conservative voice? Is this an outside pressure thing? Or is this just bad timing? Or what is this?
Yeah, this is like one of those things where I'm kind of like blind reacting to this, right? And so hearing about it, it's like there's a lot of things going on that behind the news. What I would say is the actual news they want you to know. And, behind the Ukraine or whatever, because you can't say too much about that. But it's like, wow, like there's so much going on that I've been unaware of for sure of what's been going on behind the scenes, not even behind the scenes, but what's going on around the world. Wow.
Right.
This is crazy and amazing.
So that is the end of our 10 minutes. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Please leave a like and a comment and subscribe. I want to continue to talk about this just a little bit longer. I know our 10 minutes is up, but I just want to, because I think this deserves a little bit further discussion on this. Is I know you hadn't heard about it, but like I said, because I do watch some of the Quarterings videos, because I do watch almost every Sydney Watson video, and I do periodically catch Steven Crowder's show when it was on.
Yep.
And then I normally watch Project Veritas's videos. Like all of a sudden, this is like from mid-December.
Everything's silent.
Yeah, from mid-December to now, this is like a huge blow to the conservative voice.
Yeah.
And that's why this is important. And I don't know what, I don't know. I thought, honestly, that Steven Crowder would create his own company and kind of be a competitor to the Daily Wire a little bit. Because from the gist that I get, that I've watched, that I've read, is that Steven Crowder wants to be anti-tech, big tech, wants to fight against YouTube. He thought the Daily Wire was going to help him do that, but he found out that that's not the case.
That's exactly the opposite of their.
Right.
It sounds like,
that they're feeding into that. And so I thought he might create his own thing, but in the end is Steven Crowder's got a lot of money and he could just go away. And that would be a big blow to the conservative voice. I hope he doesn't just disappear permanently, but I think he may be taking some time and evaluating really, really wants to do. The quartering still going strong. And if you don't know who any of these guys are, the Steven Crowder, the quartering, Sydney Watson, Tim Pool and Timcast, I'll leave their links down in the description, and you should really check them out. You may not find them all to your liking. You may find one that you kind of like, or maybe you don't find any. I don't know, but at least go check them out so you can kind of see the different perspectives of what they kind of cover and what they talk about. Guys like the quartering put out like 7 videos a day. They're short, they're small. But he's busy. He's a busy guy. He's always doing something, Jeremy. And like I said, you may not like all of his videos. I usually catch maybe one a day on a topic, or something like that. But he covers a lot of stuff like this, like what we're talking about. Except he usually covers it individually on when each thing happens, instead of like we're doing kind of the overview. But I thought this topic needed to be maybe discussed and talked about and just brought out to the public just a little bit more, because it's kind of disturbing that between infighting or civil war, I don't even know what to call it, but it's just kind of the loss of any conservative voice is bad, and we don't want that, and so we want them all back, and I just hope that they get there. I don't know what to do about it, but I hope they get there.
Yeah, I remember hearing, and it's been a long time. I want to say it was like at least a year ago, maybe even longer. I remember hearing possibly Steven Crowder was hospitalized and possibly dying.
He went through some surgeries, came back. He was doing well, kind of like, I don't want to say fully recovered, but as far as he said about his stuff on the show, that he was doing really good, that everything went well, and he was.
So we definitely know he's not dead. Well,
yeah, no, he's
not dead.
Yeah,
let's put that rumor to
he's just stepped away, and I hope it's not long term.
Yeah, that would make sense. Wow, there's just a lot going on, even just all around. It's definitely a weird time. It just, I don't know how to put this properly or stuff, but there's a lot of weird things going on under this current presidency.
And like at the very end of that clip we showed, the guy's like, well, there's no midterm, so right, it's like they're not all those guys aren't all focused on the one thing. They're kind of like doing these other things, and so I guess this is the time for them to do things. So I don't know, it's just weird.
And it's so weird too that you bring that up, and I've been thinking about it and trying to watch as well. I'm not, as most of you all know, I'm not very political at all. I think the stuff's boring. I don't get a lot of it, and that's why it's even more boring than I think. But like I've heard that there's not a chance that Biden will get reelected. So we don't even know if he's rerunning. And I'm like, well, who's coming in? What's the next stuff? Like, what's going on? And there's just, I don't know what's going on. Like, I can't even get a understanding of.
It's funny you say you're not political, because I have never been. In fact, I voted once when I was 18. And the next time I voted was like, 38 years later or some shit. I voted on the last election 30 some years later. Like, or 25 years later, whatever it is. Anyway, a long time. I have only voted twice in my lifetime. Once when I was 18 and on the last election. And I just feel like now, like, everything that's going on and everything, they've turned me into kind of like this activist.
Yeah.
And I really don't like it, because I don't like politics like yourself. But I feel like now, I don't know if it's because of I have, kids now or what it is, but it bothers me a lot more than it ever did.
It bothers me because I don't know if it's because I'm just older and I'm having to deal with it a lot. Like when I was younger, I definitely had the attitude of, well, what can I do about it? Right. And once I got into my 30s, I kind of realized that the election of the president is the one that they push the most. And I feel, and this is just me. Like I said, I'm not political at all, but this is just my opinion and thoughts. They push so much emphasis on that one, and that's the one I feel like I have the least control about, where it's really the previous one where it's putting your representatives into the office. That's the one where your voice is heard. At least that's how I understand it. And that one goes by and is unknown more than anything. And
Yeah.
anyway, that's how I've looked at it. And it just, I've never voted. I feel my opinion I can't do anything, and it doesn't make a sense. And I know people are like, yes, but one vote. We can go the rounds if you really want. I'll teach you, or I'll go through the episodes and all this stuff of where I can tell you one vote didn't help out of 50. Just so it's just mathematically one vote doesn't count. But that's also why I keep my mouth closed a lot of the time. I didn't vote. I don't have a right to talk about it. I just live under it, and it just doesn't make any sense. I just watch from a bystander and just be like, man, what the did you guys do?
All right, so now that we've closed off the 10-minute clock, and we took this out way longer than what we were hoping to do, thank you for watching. If you did actually make it this far, I bless you.
Yeah,
And
thank you everyone.
you guys, and hope to see you next time. Much love, all.
All right, everyone, thanks again. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.